Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to First Cut. This is our review of Past Lives, the new A24 Celine Song movie. We're so excited to break this down because this film has been generating a lot of buzz if you've been following these types of indie movies throughout the years. I'm here with RB3 to break it all down. RB3, I really do feel like this is a special movie, but I want to hear your thoughts on Celine Song's directorial debut with Past Lives.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was beautiful, honest, emotional, heart wrenching. Seeing the journey of this couple trying to discover themselves and discovering their place in this world together, and how compatible they really are, and if they're immune. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but they're immune is aligned. If this is the right life for their reality, past, present, or future. It's a brilliant movie overall. Just everything it introduces, brilliant piece of writing, and a gorgeous story that encompasses both the struggle of immigration, but also the struggle of long distance relationships and trying to rekindle past and deal with that. So
Yeah, I really do feel this movie is as special and as hyped as a lot of people said it would be because it does balance a lot of themes and it has a very dense plot and story structure. Dense in the sense of like there's a lot there. It's not just surface level when it comes to a rekindled love or a lost love coming back into their lives years later. That's a very simplistic formula or a simplistic story, but although that is simple, that simpleness is simply the tip of the iceberg of what this movie delivers when it comes to themes, messages, like you said, as far as past lives, with Inu, and that kind of whole Korean culture and lifestyle coming back into her life, reminding her of her own culture and lifestyle and how she may be losing that. There's a lot said to be here in this movie, but I feel like the main thing is the push and pull of immigration. I think that's the core of the movie, even beyond the romance for me personally, maybe because of my immigrant background and my family's immigration story. But I feel like that is at the core center of this film because it all centers around that aspect of that line in the movie that I really do feel is so special, said by her mother when she says, when you immigrate, you may lose something, but you also gain something. And that's the whole concept of losing something and gaining something, where what is it that you lost and is it worth the same of what you gained? But either way, it centers around Greta Lee's character. How'd you feel that she delivered her performance in this movie, trying to balance not just the relationships of these two men, but the time jumps, seeing her in her college years and then seeing her in her mid 30s?
yeah, it was tough. It was again, the word I'm going to keep going to is heart wrenching. It was just heart wrenching watching that journey, specifically. Um, seeing somebody mature so much in life, kind of be over what they were, what they put to the past, what they left in Korea, what they left in their childhood, and kind of explore who they are as in America. She changes her name from Na Young to Nora. She becomes fully assimilated to both. Initially she immigrates to Toronto and then ends up living in New York. So she ends up fully becoming assimilated to American culture. So much so that by the time the next time jump happens, she ends up fully on like marrying a white dude. So it just goes to show like, yeah, that's part of being in it. So, but it's also real because when you take those big time jumps, it feels very real because we know people who you knew from middle school, elementary school, and you check in on them now. They're such a vastly different person than who they were initially because of how much had changed for them over time. But also at the same time, they're still the exact same. And I think they movie captured that too. Like throughout the time jumps, they were still the same people. Like Nora and
Haesung.
Ason, yeah. They're always both going to be the exact same people, just in different bodies, more mature bodies, and I'm able to communicate what they really mean better.
Yeah, it's also a really interesting idea of circumstantial living, right? Where just based on sheer circumstance, you end up doing what you do with your own personal love life. And that's what the character of her husband represents, where he says it in his own dialogue in the movie, where he says, you know, you just met me in an artist house or in a writer's house. I happen to be the one guy there that understood some references that you said, and then you ended up marrying me because of the visa that you needed, because we expedited that marriage. Would you have married me if you were in any other circumstance, or would you have married anyone else in that same circumstance? And when he says that, he kind of nails it on the head, where you realize that's kind of what a lot of love life is. It is circumstantial. It is based on your proximity to that person and how close you are to that person. And by close, I mean actual distance. And that's what this movie kind of dives into with the distance effect, where if you are actually physically close to another person, you might in fact be more likely to leave the person you're currently with that person. How'd you feel about it on a complexity of a romantic scale, especially in 2023 RB3?
Well, yeah, it is modern romance for a lot of people who are dealing with long term relationships in real life. And but what's heartbreaking about this situation is they're not only living in separate countries, they're living on separate sides of the world. You know, so it's like it's not just an easy flight going from New York to Korea. That's like a full. You have to make a full trip of it. And those are honestly probably things that Nora didn't even want to confront in and of herself. Like I mentioned, she's assimilated. She wants to be an American. She wants to be an American playwright who wants to win a Pulitzer or eventually a Tony or things of that nature. That's her goals. That's her aspirations. Her goals are not in Seoul. So it's like having to choose. It's so funny because we just did a review for Elementals. How like that movie was kind of pinning the career versus the relationship against each other. And this movie kind of does the exact same thing, but in a very adult, mature, and a realistic way. Honestly, like you know, you're not going to leave your career just for some childhood crush that you had way back in the day. But at the same time, though, you see how those lingering effects end up crushing Hae-sung like later on in life, and he's just wanting to throw it all. I mean, regardless of what he says, regardless of how much like he tries to coax it, like he wasn't trying to get her back, like when he flew back towards the end of the film, he wanted her back. Like that was him firmly trying to get one last chance with her, look her in the eye, and be like, "I love you," you know, essentially. And that's what's so brilliant about this movie is that they didn't even have to say that with words. It just was you could just feel it all throughout the tension throughout the movie. Like it was just the emotional tension between not even like a sexual tension, just like a a familial tension, like a humanitarian tension. Because at the same time, as much as you want Nora and Aeson to be together, you also don't want her to leave her husband either, because he seems like a pretty nice guy. He's self aware of the fact, like you mentioned, like yeah, I'm just a white guy in this story. I can't even compete with this dude. Like, even at one point, he even says, "Man, I can't believe I'm in this situation." Like, you can tell how heartbreaking it is for him because even he knows these two are who are really truly meant for each other.
Yeah, and it really does show you that we got to give a lot of credit to Celine Song, who shows herself not just with her expression in camera work, but with her decision making when it comes to the characters of Hae-sung and of the husband. I'm gonna get his name because I can't keep calling him husband. Arthur was his name in the movie, and I feel like he's a complete character. He is not just a plot point piece in the movie that Greta Lee is the centerpiece character of. Like his own character has his own well-rounded nature of his own wants and desires, of his own career goals, of his own frustrations in his own personal life, where he is a 36-year-old man who happens to be single, living in Korea in the most mundane, boring, tough, he says tough mentally and physically, job that there can be. Like that's got to be frustrating where you don't feel like you have an outlet of joy where you could say at least I got my wife who's got my back, but he doesn't, and he feels that frustration, and you can feel that in those scenes where he's in the hotel alone, walking in the hotel alone, eating a muffin in the hotel lobby. Like those are real moments that make you feel for him just as much as you feel for Nora. and just as much as you feel for her character and Greta Lee's exploration of that character. I got to give a shout out to him. His name is Teo Yoo, and I feel like he does a really good job of demonstrating those shades of his character and demonstrating that this isn't just simple for him. It is a big moment in life, and it is a much more personal decision for him, where he feels like he has to make the right decisions, where she feels like she's making the right decisions for the sacrifices of her parents and for her own goals. Where it's like, if this is what it takes to get to where I need to be, then I will. I'm happy. I know it could be better, but this is where I need to be in order to accomplish my goals.
Yeah, and just going to how personal and raw this feels. I mean, you mentioned how Arthur feels like a real character. Celine Strong, if I'm not mistaken, she's actually
Song.
Celine Song. Sorry, my apologies. She's actually married to an actual Jewish guy in real life.
Yeah.
So it's like this is all really like reflective of probably I can only imagine maybe it's like
It's her own life story. It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's like being able to lay that out on screen and having that vulnerability and having that sensitivity to consider both the other lover's perspective, both the husband, author's perspective, everybody's perspective, and writing this story that's centrally about um, our central character, about Nora, about Nate Young's character. Uh, Still having that sensitivity was really great. And like you mentioned, the performances all around. Uh, Greta Lee, as you mentioned, was amazing as the lead, and I think they, from a cinematography level, they capture, even though it's like a New York set movie, a lot of it takes place in indoors, and Zoom conversations and phone conversations. So you still do feel far away, except that part when um, Hey Soon, right? If I'm not mistaken, he comes to New York, and you finally get like that outside, like New Yorker kind of feel and atmosphere at those moments. Then it kind of feels like a breathing, like you're kind of opening up the world a lot more. Because in the beginning, those opening shots when they're children in Korea, those are amazing as well. That image of like the stairs, one stair going up, the other stair going like the fork in the road when they have to say goodbye to each other was brilliant. But yeah, when they're taking that tour in New York City and you're getting to see the Eiffel Tower and all that, I feel like I was falling in love with them too. And even so much so that when the husband, when she's telling her husband, yeah, we went to that cruise to see not Eiffel Tower. I don't know what that thing's called.
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, yeah, Statue of Liberty. When I went to see Statue of Liberty, he's like, yo, I've never been there before. Like, what? Like, so it just kind of tells you, like, they're in love. They have a marriage, but it's not the same kind of genuine love that we've come to see from these two, from Nae Young and Hae.
Yeah, they don't know each other as well as they probably thought they did to be a married couple, especially married for so long as well. It's not like they just got married. Yeah, there's so much beauty in that. I gotta echo your cinematography of it all because I do feel like it's a very patient movie, and I love its patience, where there's scenes and there's moments that maybe it's just because I have my superhero, you know what I mean? Like I'm so inundated with the superhero cut, that it's like so refreshing to see cinematography that takes their time with a shot. Whether it's Hae-sung, one of my favorite shots is Hae-sung's reaction to Nora telling him that she's going to take a break from talking to him. And it
Yeah,
just lingers on him
close
for
up.
like a good like 30, 45 seconds. And then you see her perspective where she just sees a shadow in the screen, which is really interesting, the way they decided to shoot that. And then obviously the final shots, which I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but the final shots kind of echo the first shots, and then the final shot with the tracking shot of her walking
Yeah,
back to her apartment, back to her husband Arthur. That to me is artistry. Like that to me is just really purposeful direction, purposeful cinematography, purposeful artistry to not cut away and to continue the shot and to make it a complete story that you can really chew and savor quite a bit more when it comes to that final moment because it's a short ass movie. It's a short movie. So making that longer helps.
Yeah, hour 30. Yeah, it was an hour and 46, and yeah,
It's like
longer.
an hour 40, yeah, an hour 45.
And the longer editing like cuts definitely help extend the pace. And not even just the tracking, not even just the tracking shot of like walking back. It's the whole scene is one take. Like the whole
The whole scene, yeah.
yeah, them leaving and waiting for the Uber. By the way, like that's a to me, I felt like the bravery of keeping that on one take too. But you mentioned the timing. It's not even the timing of the editing, the timing of the actors, like still holding, like being doing that whole scene unbroken. Like and there's a moment. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're already kind of spoiling it, so whatever. If you're watching this, you should watch the movie. But they uh they have that one look that they kind of exchange for each other to each other at the very end, which is so to me is meaningful because up until this point in the movie, the biggest failure that they've had is like the communication breakdown, especially when they have to say goodbye to each other. Like the first time when they're kids, that goodbye didn't go well. The second time when they're over FaceTime, that didn't go well. Like you mentioned, he's crying, and he basically kind of almost asked right then and there, like, "Were we dating or something?" And she didn't give an answer to him. So like you could kind of tell right there that was like the instant heartbreak moment. But he finally finds some words to say that are not like some total shove aside kind of thing. And he says those words after literally just staring directly in her eyes for like 2 minutes. So it's like they're probably even talking to each other silently, a whole different language that we never even understood. Which also another point, the fact that Nae Young only dreams in Korean, just goes to show you how deep and how important connection and identity and culture is to people. And not even just, it could be her dreaming about Hey Soon, but it could just be her dreaming about her childhood, her dreaming about her friends, her dreaming about her ambitions. And that's always going to be something that is at home in, a place that's not America, in Seoul, in Korea. And I think that's just uh, the most heartbreaking part of it. The fact that when she is walking back, I think she's almost kind of realizing that like she's going to be going back to her husband, back to her home that's so far away, disconnected to everything that she knows and loves.
That's the biggest thing for me too, man, is the fact that there's a lot to be said in this movie about language and about the difference between language and communication, the complexities of language and what you can communicate within that, but also the idea of culture and the idea of what you lose in immigration and what you gain, right? Where again, I go back to that quote because that's kind of the centerpiece of the movie, in my opinion, where her goals and her loftiness and her ideas and her headstrongness of gaining her goals gets in the way of her personal affections that she may have towards her Korean culture and her Korean lifestyle. And she kind of maybe subconsciously suppresses that in a way to where she knows that she can't accomplish it all the way if she continues down this path with Haesung. So that's why she cuts it off. She realizes she has to continue in this life because this is the life that she is set in and she wants to achieve her goals in. And that kind of, again, push and pull of the immigration weight. Again, Elemental mentions this as well, where you do have a weight on your shoulders when you're first generation, and you do have kind of this mentality of gaining a little bit more than what you could have had in Korea or what you could have had in your homeland. And that to me is so precious and beautiful inside this movie, and that's probably the best part of it because of how many more identities and cultures that you can get from this and the way that she's able to relate Hae Song to Korea and to her lifestyle and to that culture and that kind of affection that she has for it, whether it is from a childhood affection or not. It's also a childhood affection of her life in Korea and her language in Korea and her people in Korea, and what she was able to get out of that. Because I don't know about you, man, but I feel that, right? I feel that kind of connection to my childhood where I do look back on it with a lot of, I don't know how to say it. I do look back at nostalgia, with a
Yeah.
lot of nostalgia where I'm just like, damn, like being a kid was the shit. Like it was awesome. And that kind of mentality of like, I kind of lost a little bit of that now that I have to do this stuff and now that I have to settle in a way, right? You could kind of argue that
Yeah.
Naesung settles
Yeah.
with Arthur, where she could get maybe a little bit more and she could gain a little bit more of a fiery or of a passionate husband. instead of like a very calm, chill dude that he is. And it kind of paints a picture. I don't know about you, RB3, but this is kind of where I want to finish. The idea of where the bar conversation goes, where I forget his name already. Hey Song or Hey Jung, Hey Sung says that she's the kind of girl who leaves, and that's why she loves him, and that's why he loves her, and she has to be the one who leaves, and that's why her husband is madly in love with her, even though she's still on that same trajectory. I don't know what you took from that, but to me, that implied that, hey, like, maybe you have to take a conversation and a look into your own relationship now that you realize these things that you're feeling may also stem from a lack of communication and a lack of relationship with your current husband. I thought that was such a beautiful way to say that this doesn't have to be a rekindling of love. It could also be a moment of healing and in a chapter that's being opened in your life or a chapter that's being closed.
Yeah.
It could imply both, right? Do you kind of get the sense that maybe she might be like, hey, Arthur, maybe it's time we take a step back. Maybe it's time we don't continue in this relationship. Maybe I do want something else.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, see, I didn't take it that way. I took it more. I took it just the same way you took it. Like it should be a chapter closed. But I thought
Okay.
he was kind of saying. I thought the movie was saying. I could be wrong though, but I thought they were saying the chapter is closed on these two. Like the chapter of
It
these.
could be both, right? I took it as like, obviously this is she needed this for healing regardless.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if she runs away with him or not, right? That wasn't the point. The point was healing. And that's important as much as anything else. And he needed that too, because he needed that clarity and that healing. And he got it, she got it. But then it's also a self-reflecting moment of like, I'm closing this chapter. Should I look at other chapters and be like, is this really what I want in a relationship right now? It doesn't have to be Hey Song, but it could be someone else that's not Arthur. Did you get that as well at the end? You didn't get that, huh?
I mean, I got that a little bit, you know what I mean? But I think I just felt like she ultimately just ends up staying with Arthur.
Okay.
That's just the way I feel.
Could be either.
Yeah, it could be either. I guess my only reasoning towards feeling like she would stay with Arthur is because of her career, because of her life. Like that's just a childhood friend is a childhood friend. Like that's always gonna be, like you said, a piece of nostalgia, a piece of the past. I feel like at least she's acknowledging her present for the first time, and the movie is called Past Lives, so it's like it's all about like what could have been explored, what has been explored, and either the what we're living in now, or our ancestors, or what not ancestors per se, but like what our past selves might have felt for each other, what our future selves might feel for each other. I think to me, like it was kind of saying like, yeah, this life, this current life that you're in, we're good. Me, Nate Young and A Song are the chapter on them are closed in this lifetime, but the next lifetime for sure, we getting there. Like we'll just see each other in like 100 years or something. That's the kind of way I kind of felt. It was kind of like leaning towards, but
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's so much complexity and there's so much to read out of that. This whole movie, I really did feel like it's one of the best directorial debuts I've seen from anyone,
yeah.
and I mean that. And it's definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. Any final thoughts on Past Lives, RB3?
That was good, man. It was good. I saw it with a bunch of geezers at AMC Rolling
Yeah,
Hills. So it was a lot of old people in my theater, but they all
yeah,
too.
me too. A
Uh,
lot of ancient people. Damn, bro.
yeah.
They saw that trailer and they're like, "This is a movie for me."
Right. Now they, I mean, it's like it's one of them It is like one of them generational stories though. Like this really does feel like one of them stories that your grandmother would tell you like way back, in the day. I'm like, "Yeah, it's the one that got away, So it like does feel like that. But it was beautifully done. Great directorial debut. I didn't even, I didn't even know it was A24. I guess they showed the logo at the beginning, but it was really, really just brilliantly just fits into that mode of telling heartfelt humanistic stories that aren't that get to the truth, that get to the real of it. Like I know they did After Sun last year with Paul Mescal that I finally ended up checking out after Sabrina's recommendation of it. That was the #1 movie last year. That's also a film that deals with parentage, nostalgia, in a much different way. It's more directly about father and daughter relationships. But as you know, it did a really beautiful, simple, amazing job of telling that story, and this movie does that too. So shout out to Celine Song for, like you said, this directorial debut.
Yeah, I think I could confidently say it's one of my favorite movies of the year. Definitely top two for me, at least right now. Either way, guys, let us know what is your thoughts of Past Lives in the comments down below. What did you think of this movie? What is your favorite part of the movie? How'd you feel about the themes and how they hit you personally? I feel like I would love to hear about that in the comments. And you can follow us at First Cut TMO and subscribe here to more videos like these and more conversations about other movies. RB3, where can everyone find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Director RB3.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Ace, our TikTok channel as well at First Cut TMO. But either way, guys, for the First Cut crew, we're going to be peacing out. Peace, deuces.
It's either me or you.